As always, I will begin by casting Sacred Space, lighting my candle here. I'm gonna burn some cedar just to clear the space and to clear my own energy. Welcome everyone to the third day of my chakra series. This has been really fun. So thank you for being here. So, just a quick review of what we've already gone over these past few days. So, the chakra system is a system of energy within our bodies. It is the energetic self that is really interacting with not only spirit, but our environment, everything that's happening within us and around us. So we want these circuits to be working properly, to just be flowing with a nice current of energy just through each space. I talked about how each chakra is like a window, and we want this window to be open so we can clearly look into our lives and see it from a space of truth. So first we talked about the root chakra, which is located at the base of our spine. And the chakras move in a spectrum of light, so from red to orange, yellow, through the spectrum of the rainbow. And root chakra is a lot about really grounding ourselves and looking at where our foundation is built from. So looking at our core beliefs, our securities, where those lie. And then in the sacral chakra, we moved up a little bit into the pelvic space and the pelvic bowl, and its color is orange. And this is our creative center where we experience intimacy. So we talked about making our lives or experiencing our lives more intimately through being present and through our willingness to be vulnerable. And that video is now on my YouTube channel, so you can watch that. And so today we move into the solar plexus chakra. Okay, and this is where we really move into a place of action and power. So the solar plexus, the Sanskrit word for this is Manipura, M-A-N-I-P-U-R-A, Manipura. Its color is yellow, and its element is fire. So fire, transformation, right? This like very powerful force. And fire can be used in a couple different ways when it comes to our spirituality. It can be fire of illumination, of seeing truth and understanding it. And then it can also be this active fire of power and action, and kind of like healthy ego, not so much of the like need to control and take, but to like be here and take up space and stand in that power. And that's more of what we'll be talking about today. This chakra develops from about 18 months to 4 or 5 years old. So this is a part of our life where we really begin talking and speaking and advocating for ourselves and our lives as children. So we're not just crying babies anymore. We're actually, able to move around in our lives independently. We're able to ask for what we need, and kind of like hold on to things. So this is really going to be the energy of this discussion today, is claiming our space. And anatomically, this chakra is connected, of course, to our abdomen, so our core space, our belly. This includes our spleen, the upper intestines, the pancreas, our adrenal glands. So now we're really getting into the glands, and then the middle of our spine. So upper lumbar, kind of the bottom of the cervical spine. And of course, this is going to be involved with our digestion. So if you're experiencing any imbalances in your gut and in your digestive tract, that's going to be connected to your core chakra, your solar plexus. So before we move into the message of today, let's take a few moments to drop into our bodies through some breath and body awareness. So then we'll feel and learn from that space. So sit up tall and you can close your eyes. And take an exhale wherever you are. A deep breath in through the nose. And a big exhale. And seal your lips. Begin to breathe in and out through your nose. This conscious breath activates prana in the body. Opening up all these major channels of energy. And now bring your awareness down into your belly, into your solar plexus chakra. And as you breathe, feel the belly expand and contract. Really allow yourself to take up space here. With the inhale, you press the belly button out as far forward as you can. And on the inhale, you draw the navel back in. And you can place your hands on the solar plexus here, so right on top of your navel, your belly button. And as you breathe into this space, imagine a ball of yellow light glowing and resting in your stomach. And this light illuminates this space, sending healing energy to all of your vital organs. And as you breathe into this space, you feel strong, tapping into your personal power, remembering that it's there. And from this space, this light begins to shine out past your body, illuminating your entire energetic field. So about 3.5 feet in every direction. Just imagine this light illuminating your entire being, reminding you that you are light, you are energy, you are a powerful force. And then begin to soften your belly. Really let it rest and expand. We spend a lot of time sucking the belly in, drawing it in. And I feel that this is a representation of us trying to take up less space. We've been taught that we must shrink ourselves, that we must put out our flame. This is a lie. Let's rewrite this fear narrative and move into a space of spiritual sovereignty. The belief and the understanding that I have a right to be here, to take up space. My body, my mind, my space. I have a birthright to this space. And just take a few more breaths here. Just really feeling your body expand as you rest into this moment. And let's reach our hands up and over the head so the palms touch, and then draw them down towards your heart space. We'll sing the sound of Om to remind us that we are all connected, we are all one. Inhale together. Okay, welcome to Spiritual Sacred Space, my friends. So our message today of the solar plexus chakra is spiritual sovereignty. What is spiritual sovereignty and why is it important? So usually we hear the word sovereignty maybe when we're talking about a state or an institution, and this is when like that body has its own independence from everything. So think of like, the sovereignty of a new country, of breaking free, right? The idea, which, we won't get into all that, but the idea of our country is that we were breaking free of British control and trying to find a space of freedom. Okay, so that aside, spiritual sovereignty looks like us as individuals also claiming that space of sovereignty. Okay, so this is truly a reclamation of our own personal power, and in order to do that we have to understand what our power is and what that feels like. Spiritual sovereignty is a state of being where we lay claim to our own space, our physical space, our bodies, our mind and our thoughts and the way we think about things, the way we feel about ourselves and other people, and also our heart and our compassion and the way we care and love for others. We reclaim these, we lay claim as these as our own, no one else's to have or control or to take. We have a birthright as a spiritual sovereign being. We have a birthright to be here, which we really spoke about in the root chakra. And so what we're seeing, right, so we talked about this system of interference that I believe has infected our chakra system, our mind, our body, our world, right, that we're calling society because we're all to blame. We're all participating in these systems of interference. But what that looks like is control, manipulation, right? Our entire lives have been kind of laid out for us by governing bodies, by institutions, by systems that don't really have our best interest in mind. And again, we talked about this in our core chakra. So in our root chakra. So knowing that and believing that and shifting our reliance away from these systems of interference, from societal, rules and laws, now we're in this space of reclaiming what is rightfully ours. So how do we recognize where our sovereignty has been taken away from us? Well, I love that we are in an era of consent. This has been a conversation, even on a political level, for a while now. What is consent? What does that mean? And what I have come to realize, especially since the shift, since 2012, here we are in the age of Aquarius, our third eyes are opening, we're becoming more open, we're receiving more information, we're all kind of transforming and developing our own spirituality. Okay, and since this shift has began, I have felt my own awareness expand, and when I look into my life, I'm able to recognize more where I have been giving away my spiritual power without consent. And so I'm sure this is true for most of us. So we have to illuminate these spaces. Where am I giving away my power without consent? What does this look like? So let's begin with something simple, a simple example of our bodies. So in our food, let's talk about food in our bodies. This is a really great discussion because I think food is just, it's really at the center of our health, right? Food is our fuel. It determines the health of our body. And we have given away the power of our own health, of the well-being of our body, by blindly trusting food production companies, right, brands who have sold us on their subliminal messages, right? We don't have to get too much into advertising here, but advertising is meant to be manipulative, whether for good or bad, right? We're taught, trust these brands, eat these foods, and without doing our own research, we as a country, if not an entire world, are sick, right? Heart disease, diabetes, these things that, cancer, these are the highest, these have the highest rate in our world right now. And it's all related to our food. And so we're giving away our power of just having vibrant health by blindly trusting systems and eating foods that we don't really know anything about. They're genetically modifying these foods, they're adding pesticides and poisons that are detrimental to our nervous system, everything that's going on in our body, our brain development, right? And I think we can all agree on this. So this is just an example that by becoming aware of this, right, by learning about these poisons and these foods that aren't really helping or healing, we can then say, well, what do I choose to put in my body, right? We then get a choice. And so when we begin to eat foods that nourish us, vegetables, fruits, grains, food that we grow ourselves or from trusted sources like local farmers or brands that have taken the time to certify themselves as organic and GMO free, right? By choosing these foods, we're getting our health back. We're reclaiming that, right? And then we can look into things like the healthcare system. Where do we just give away all of our wisdom and knowledge? We just trust other people to tell us about our bodies and what's good for us and what we need, right? So just our physical bodies, we can start to reclaim that power back, really believing I know what is best for me. And then it gets this really can go in a lot of different directions. What am I giving away freely in my life without consent? When we look at social media and the internet, right, like in our cell phones, we've given away our right to privacy. And maybe we're willing to do this, right? Like we're all here right now on the internet. I am consciously consenting to being here with you all in the virtual sphere, knowing that all of this information is being recorded, maybe watched. I don't know. I doubt I'm on a government list somewhere of suspicious people to be watching. But I could be watched. But that's a risk I'm willing to take. I'm consenting to that. But how many people are using the internet or using other, systems where we're not consenting? Look at our education system. Our entire life, we're taught what someone else deems as important, right? An institution that we've already talked about doesn't really have our best interest in mind. We're learning this one view of world history, of mathematics, of science, of what is deemed important and valuable, and we're having that shoved into our minds, really without consent. Like, have we all really stopped and really talked about what's being taught in schools, and if that's what we really want our children to value, is to sit in a straight line and listen to authority and just memorize numbers and dates and colonists? What is, because don't we want our children, and I wish I learned things like how to build something out of wood, or how to I don't know, put gas in my car. I literally wasn't even taught how to put gas in my car, which I feel like I'm getting out of the point here. But, you know, we have a right to reclaim our education. You know, and I learned that when I went to college and paid for my degree and created my own degree and said, this is what I want to learn. I'm a paying customer here at this institution, and this is what I want to learn. And I reclaimed my power in that way, right? So the idea here is just to look into our lives and to question literally everything. Is this serving me? What would be serving me? You know, what can I do that is in alignment with my values? So that's where spiritual sovereignty also comes in, because the foundation of our sovereignty relies on our core self and our personal integrity. Okay, so we have to really build a strong sense of self in order to preserve that and protect that. So how do we do that? Well, for me, the 8 limbs of yoga have been a great way to really lay down a foundation of what I value and what I feel is important to live by and to claim. Okay, so I'm not going to get into the 8 limbs today, but that is a great resource. So where are we giving our power away? This could also be in relationships, right? So how many times have we fallen into a friendship or a romantic relationship or even a relationship with authority where we've just given away our power without even maybe recognizing that we've done that? We're not thinking for ourselves, we're not acting for ourselves, we're doing all on behalf of another. Which this can be okay, right? Like, our children need us to take care of them until a certain age. Like, we have to give away a lot to care for them. And even our community, right? Like, we can give and care for our community, but we're doing it consensually, right? Are we thinking for ourselves? Are we making decisions based on our own better judgment? Or are we blindly relying on these systems of interference that don't truly have our best interest in mind? That could be the people in our life who say they love us. That could be the strangers on a television who will never ever even meet us, and we still give them our power. I also think about the narratives and the stories that have been written for us about other people. Right, so what we talked about in the root chakra is in 2020, a very valuable message we're learning is that we, or should I say you, are not here alone, right? We are all here together. We've spent enough time othering people and saying, those people don't matter. They don't matter. I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to focus on these people that I deem important. And where did these narratives come from? At what point did we learn that some people don't matter? Who's deciding that? Who says that these people don't deserve what these people deserve? And that's deeply embedded in our psyche, right? As racism, as oppression, even as exploitation, right? Like, we all know that sweatshops exist, yet how many of us are still buying from those brands? Or we know that farmers are spraying pesticides on their foods, but we still don't shop organic. Like, we're willing to just trash our body. All right, and I realize that, you know, healthy food can be a privilege and that it's not always easy to come by, right? But that doesn't mean we have to consent to it. So spiritual sovereignty comes with a lot of responsibility, right? We don't get to just sit back and pretend that things aren't happening, right? Like, I literally have people in my family who are willing to say, yeah, I hear you, I just choose not to care about that, right? I'm radical because I don't want to die or be poisoned from something simple like where I get my food from. And that makes me radical, right? Where I see prison as modern day slavery, and that makes me a hippie, right? Like, I know we're all kind of facing these people, and so how do we speak with them with compassion and understanding, right? Which we'll get into tomorrow with our heart chakra and how to listen and speak compassionately. So spiritual sovereignty, the statement here is, I accept full ownership of myself. I take full ownership of myself, including my shadow, including the parts of myself that are challenging and hard to look at. I fully claim this space. That means we face our shit and we look at it, right? We're willing to be accountable for our mistakes. We're willing to look and see where we're harming others, where we may have harmed others. And with compassion and gentleness, right? We talked about this in the sacral chakra. This has to be from a space of gentleness. We care for ourselves, right? Part of this sovereignty is that we have to care for ourselves. We can't just rely on other people to care for us, right? And we're lucky if we have people in our lives who do care for us and that do provide for us. Again, revisiting that. Do I consent to this care? Is it serving me? Where am I being held back by this, right? Like, here we are. We're all getting these checks now from the government. Money, 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 money. Well, where is this money 6 months ago when I was working my ass off and could only make half of this, giving up all my time, right? Paying high rates for a place to live. We have rights to this. We have a right to have a roof over our head without having to struggle or suffer for it. Spiritual sovereignty is caring for ourselves, providing for ourselves. Growing our own food, making our own clothes, making our own money. Oh my God, like, most of America is working for someone else's idea. We are slaves to someone else's money and idea, and what they pinch off a little bit for us, and we feel like we're doing it right. No, we don't. We're all complaining about that. I know, especially the people here in my community. We know that that is not okay. That is not right. And I love when I see you all in your entrepreneurial ideas. Like, okay, yeah, you made $5, you made $10, but that adds up. And then you are independent of an entire system of slavery by just putting effort into your own ideas. The workforce is the biggest system of slavery. It is slavery. We've just called it something else. We've tweaked a few things, right? We're given a few freedoms, and then all of a sudden we think that we're free because we have some money. But then we're forced to put that money back into the system that gave it to us, right? So spiritual sovereignty is also living off of our own ideas rather than contributing just to someone else's, right? And again, create consent. You may love someone else's idea and you're like, this is my purpose, is to stand with this and these people, and I'm working for this. Word. That is fine, right? That is great. Everything with intention, everything with consent is what we're getting at here, right? We create our own opinions about things. Are you just watching the news right now? Just watching the death rate increase, watching the drama, feeding into that fear narrative that we're all dying of some mysterious disease, some mysterious virus? Have you checked the death rates of other illnesses? How many people died this year from a car accident? How many people died this year from world hunger? Yet we don't call that a pandemic. We're not all locked in our homes trying to find a solution for the people in our world who don't even have clean drinking water, right? Are you thinking for yourselves around this? Or are we just saying, they got it, they're taking care of me, I'm going to sit back and trust that I'm just being taken care of? Well, okay, on a spiritual level, yes, of course, you're always cared for. But in the manifest world, the world, this dimension that we've been given free reign to create in, are you thinking for yourself? Are you creating from a space of self? Are you creating ideas based on your own theories, your own research? And this goes back to our root chakra of just taking on the ideas of our parents and our communities. Community identity. Okay, there have been some really interesting discussions around community identity and circles of healing, and where we have to recognize, where am I just finding security in this identity and settling and staying complacently here, rather than rising out of that as well and having my own ideas separate from this community, right? So we hear these like negative stories around cults and groups of people, you know, who have certain beliefs about things. And there always has to be like a grain of salt when we hear things, right? There has been nothing on this planet that I have heard where I have 100% been like, everything about that resonates with me. There's always at least like 0.01% where I'm like, no. Because no one has the complete truth. We all have pieces of the truth. That's why we're here. We're all here experiencing different versions of the same truth, learning whatever lessons it is we have to learn. There is no one narrative that we all follow. And that's where spiritual sovereignty really comes into our lives and shapes us. Spiritual sovereignty is creating our own happiness, not relying on others to make us happy, not relying on things to make us happy, or just really expectations, right? We must, again, create from within. When we lay claim to ourselves and we lay responsibility down for ourselves, we're also responsible for our own happiness. You have the basic human rights to think freely, to feel freely, to be comfortable in your own body, and this is spiritual sovereignty. So the message to take away from today is a reminder that nothing can take away your divinity and your humanity when you absolutely refuse to give it away. So look into your life and question, what am I consenting to? What am I unconsciously consenting to? Where am I allowing my power to be taken from me? In my body, in my mind, in my actions? And what can I do to reclaim this power as my own? How can I become more self-reliant? Okay. And one more thing I want to add here is, in this space of spiritual sovereignty, of reclaiming our own personal power, that power is a gift. And we must also protect the sovereignty of others. I read something recently, a friend of mine actually shared it on her social media, and it was this idea that it comes back to the conversation that Krishna has on the battlefield in the Bhagavad Gita, And he talks to Arjuna about these two paths of either being in the world or renouncing ourselves from the world. Because there's two spiritual paths, right? I can be on this path on my own, I can meditate, I can sit in this space of bliss and be one with God and stay here and just stay here until I return to wherever it is that I believe I'm going to, okay? And you will have your salvation, you will, right, return to God consciousness, whatever it is that you're seeking. Or you can serve the world. You can be in it. You can let the experiences of the world shape you and let that be your spiritual teaching. And bring others with you and share these messages with them. Whatever it is that you feel called to teach in this world, you are responsible for sharing that. You are powerful. You have a light. Even if it's the 4 or 5 people, in your network that are listening to you. I mean, I literally have 4 people right now live watching this. That does not stop me from sharing this. It feels important. I want to share. I want you all to know what I know, to feel what I feel, and if it helps, that is why I'm here. Right? To seek, to learn, to share, and to grow together. We heal together. So while you're on this path of spiritual sovereignty and protecting your own power, also remember that we must protect the power of others as well. Of those that are not heard or felt or deemed valuable or important, remember them as well. The animals, the plants, the people, we are all here together. So I will leave you with that today, my friends. Thank you for sharing this sacred space with me. Tomorrow we will get into the heart chakra and we'll talk about compassion. So compassionate listening, being an empath, and kind of just moving into this bigger picture thinking of the collective. All right, so thank you so much. Namaste, friends.